So let's move to the next slide. I am for the destruction of all forms of religion. Let me make no bones about that or no mistake about it in anybody's mind. I have been anti-religious from day one. And here's the problem, folks. Because other people are anti-religious, but they're reactionarily anti-religious. They're not logically anti-religious. They have a reaction against religion. This is what I was. In my lack of knowledge and in my lack of the understanding of the scientific methodology when I was young, okay, I turned reactionarily anti-religious. There's a difference between being logically anti-religious and being reactionarily anti-religious. So my reactionary state of rejection of religious dogma led me into a mindset of hatred and a mindset of incorrect form of rebellion to move into the belief in the dark occult and Satanism. That's my life path. That's what happened to me. And I didn't wake up until I realized that this was a system of slavery being directed by social engineers and the most powerful people in human civilization, as far as what resources they had at their command and how much they actually held sway and thrall over the human mind. Culturally, they were the culture creators, they were the social engineers, and ultimately they were the master psychologists that had dark occult knowledge. They had the knowledge of the occult and they were using it for totally abusive, dark purposes, namely to enslave. And ultimately, really to cull, which is one of their agendas. So, when you are reactionarily anti-religious, you will be led away from the truth. It won't get you to the truth because you're just reacting against one thing that's not true. The social engineers always have prepared something ready and they're able to go with it. You're reacting towards something that isn't true, and they have this other dialectic prepared. This is the dialectical manipulation that they practice. It's called the Hegelian dialectic. Okay, I call it polarization dialectics. Okay, you have one false extreme that isn't true, and when people recognize it isn't true and react against it, instead of logically coming to the conclusion of how and why it isn't true through scientific process, through truth discovery process, you could easily sway them into a totally polar opposite, also untrue dialectic. And that is the difference between all religions and atheism, all cultural religions and atheism. Now, here, when I say I'm against all forms of religion, I'm not just talking about the world/cultural organized religious traditions like Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Islam, etc. Those are what I call the world and cultural organized traditions. Whether they're world religions or just locally cultural organized religious traditions, it's irrelevant. Those are the known religious traditions that have names. Then we have religions like government, politics, money, the belief in authority. These are also religious belief systems. I'd put carnism up there as a religious belief system. Okay? I would put the belief that we can be free without accepting the existence of natural law and understanding how it works. How about that as a religion? What's your religion? Well, my religion is I think that humanity can be free, yet natural law is hokum and it's bunk and we don't need to know anything about it or how it works, and yet we can be free. That's religion. That's religious thought. How about this one? I believe that we can be free, but we don't need to actually develop any kind of sustainable technology. We could just continue to burn hydrocarbons, which we're totally controlled by, and pollute our environment and create an unsustainable planet. And yet we could just be free. We could somehow attain freedom in that mindset. That's a religion. What about atheism, which we're going to talk about? That's not a religious belief. That's a religious belief holding us back from the truth. Because not to acknowledge the existence of some form of ordering force or intelligence in the universe that sets laws into being, whether it sets them into being or sustains laws that are self-existing. Any way you want to look at that, that is a higher order force, a higher order intelligence, a higher order power in creation. Again, you don't need to believe in a personal deity that like interferes in human affairs. I don't accept a personal God. I believe God is law in creation. And it allows total free will, because to interfere in free will would be to enslave. And the creator / creation does not do that. It allows choice. It allows free will. But it sets laws. It has laws that are in effect, that it put into effect or sustains, that it allows one to make decisions and learn how those decisions interoperate with the law that is in effect in creation, to learn and to grow and to understand how things really work. And those laws do not constitute a prison. This is what the dark occultists think. They think because there are laws binding behavior and we can't do whatever we want without consequence, that's a prison. That's their mindset. That's their mentality. That's their worldview. So again, I'm for the destruction of all religion. I think religion is the one and only problem that humanity ultimately faces. You can look at all of the things I'm saying in this presentation, and it all comes back to religious belief, which is believing something that isn't true, that holds back our progress in consciousness. From the Latin relegare, meaning to hold back, to tie by binding, and to thwart from forward progress in consciousness. That's literally what the word religion means, where it comes from. So, I don't know how I can make it any more clearer. I've said before, maybe I just need to make a whole presentation about why I think religion is the whole problem, because people still don't understand what I mean by the word religion. They hear religion and you think your definition. You hear the term natural law, you think your definition. You hear the word evolution, you think your definition. I am not using the definition of words in the same way that people traditionally think of the definition of words. It's unfortunate, but we have limited language, and inventing words usually doesn't go a long way toward really helping people to understand a new meaning, like voluntarism. Okay? More people are trying to use that word, but it's like pushing an invented word onto people. And it does make sense, but just going out of your way to try and invent a word. We could use language and we could say, here's what the culturally accepted definition of this is, but let's look at what it really means at a deeper fundamental level. Religion doesn't just mean Christianity, Judaism, Islam. It means that which holds us back from an understanding of truth, because we are accepting dogma and belief instead of actual facts and knowledge. And I'm for the elimination of that erroneous thought process. I want a scientific, rigorous investigation of how nature actually functions and the laws of nature function. And if we really did that as a species, we would discover natural law is real. It is operating at all times and places, and there are consequences for our chosen behaviors regarding whether they are moral or immoral, meaning right or wrong, meaning whether they do not initiate harm to other sentient beings, or whether they do initiate harm to other sentient beings. And that dynamic exists naturally in the 3D world of nature. It's not invented by man. We don't govern that process, meaning we don't invent what is right and wrong. We are to discover what is right and wrong and align our behavior to it through an act of our will, which most people aren't doing, which is why we're not becoming a type 1 civilization.